Hey Mark, how you doing? Thanks for kicking things off. Thank you very much. A temporary bout of insanity, absolutely. And listen, I'm going to tell you something, Ann. This exercise pays off. It really does. And I'm so glad, honestly, that there's two of these. When I first started teaching this class, I had a lot of students complaining about, why are we doing this hand rendered thing? And listen, I'm going to tell you something. I think the best description that I've heard about the value of doing this. Um, by hand was Paul's response. And he was talking about in discussion board, he was talking about he was actually using a military example. And the point is what's the best way to get to know your weapon in the military? And it's breaking it down, cleaning it, and reassembling it 1,000 times. I think that exercise really rings true to typography in many different ways, and especially to this assignment in this hand rendering. It really is tedious, but you have to admit you know so much more about typography than you did 1 week ago. And it's due to this hand rendered exercise. So this exercise is invaluable. And you've heard me describe this to other students in discussion board where I do this exercise. I trace letters by hand, and if I'm have a new assignment where I'm working for a client and they request using a typeface that I'm not familiar with, I will do this exercise. I will hand render these sketches just so I can get used to the typeface and really understand the nuance of the optical relationships associated with the typeface. So it's fantastic. Yes, nerve-wracking without question. The value though is off the chart. I hope you found that. So this is gorgeous, really nice work. It's beautiful. I will say one thing. If you take a look at the assignment requirements, letters must be filled in black with pencil. But I'm okay with this. I'm perfectly fine with you using a marker. Yeah, I'm guessing you used a hard line with a pencil and then filled it in with marker. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Uh, so that's cool. One thing we don't see is the baseline, mean line, and cap line. And that's relevant, of course, because we need to see an understanding of where the letters sit on the baseline, what falls below the baseline. I also want to see your a depiction of your overshoot, and also the way that those ascenders, specifically that D, rises above the cap line. So in your final submission, you definitely want to include that baseline, mean line, and cap line. And of course, follow that advice. Go ahead and draw out the baseline, then place the cap F, establish your cap line, and then go ahead and establish your small, your lowercase letters and figure out where that mean line goes. Watch your overshoot in the mean lines and in the lowercase letters, curved letters, and then move forward accordingly. Now, as far as craft goes, this is really off the charts. It's fantastic. There's a couple of areas of concern. Watch your serifs. I see that, especially in the word fire. I think the most successful word here is and. And I think fire is it's logical that fire has a little bit of inconsistency because that's the first word you did, so your hand was not acclimated yet, right? So we can see a little bit of issue in the serif and R, a little irregularity on the right and left hand side, and we see the same thing in the I. So watch that, watch the curve on that lowercase e. Other than that, I think your letter forms are absolutely gorgeous. Now, the kerning itself, letter spacing and word spacing. Word spacing is fantastic. The eye doesn't have a choice but to see this as one series of words and not fire and ice. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, we see this, it registers as fire and ice and not three different letters. Three different words. So that's fantastic. As far as the kerning itself goes, letter spacing, word spacing is great. Letter spacing in the individual words is a little tight. I think you're tight all the way around. With the exception of the space between the I and the C. I think the C and the E are a little tight right through there. And what that does when you have a curved letter form against an open counter, you want to give it a little bit of space. Otherwise, you're just trapping that negative space, and it really draws attention to itself, and that could effectively create a saccadic pause. And of course, as we learned, we don't want that. So that's a little tight right there. I think that you establish a really nice F and I kerning right there. I and R is fantastic. R and E is just a little bit close, that E. And those are really tight. I would open up that space right there and that space right there just a little bit. And then, of course, this is beautiful right here. That's a little tight. So other than that, I mean, I'm really impressed. Really fantastic job. And if you have any questions, let me know. But those would be my recommendations moving into your final presentation. Okay, great job, Mark. Thank you very much.